Welcome back to the 202 show. I'm Ryan Saber. I want to talk about, with my crew of WLAS graduates, I want to talk about the saddest moment in a sports movie. Now, I'm 90% sure that Barstool started this conversation on Twitter, and if it wasn't,
most likely did. Lights Camera, like their Lights Camera Pod podcast, which is great.
There you go. So if that wasn't the one that started it, it amplified it and kind of blew the conversation up. So, saddest moment in a sports movie. Now, in the break, Greenblatt brought up a movie that I'm not going to spoil because he's still going to use it, that isn't necessarily a sad movie or have but whatever. But a movie that had sad moments in it, and that's what we're trying to do, sad moments. Mike, from going left to right, you're the first one on the list, so why don't you get started?
Okay. One of my favorite movies of all time, Remember the Titans.
Just that was mine.
An incredible movie.
Everyone just got I think that's everybody. Like that's almost everybody's go-to.
It wasn't mine. Mine gets weird.
I was really hoping that I was going to be able to go first so I could get that off because I knew the person was taking it.
Smart.
So Remember the Titans just an all-around great movie story about an integrated school playing football together in an integrated football team. They deal with a ton of outside conflict and interior conflict as well. But in that movie, Gary Bertier, who is their captain, their linebacker, he ends up getting paralyzed in a car accident. And then after the movie, it says Gary ended up dying later on through complications from it. But just that scene of him riding in his car, like they had just won, they had been celebrating, they were going for a championship, and he just goes driving, and you see him get T-boned, and it's just tremendously sad every time I watch it, which I would probably say it's the movie I've watched the most in my life. I would say upwards of like 200 times, and that movie, it makes me sad every time. I'm not a huge crier for movies, but that one gets me real close.
Sorry.
No, it's not you.
I always forget Ryan Gosling's in that movie.
Yeah,
I always feel like people forget that.
Yeah, like Ryan Gosling, Donald Faison, who plays Turk in Scrubs, is in that movie. Like,
real quick, there's a Now a Scrubs podcast, by the way, for anyone who likes Scrubs.
Oh, I heard that.
Donald Faison and Zach Braff are doing a rewatch podcast that just started.
Yeah, in another episode where we don't already have a full rundown, I do want to talk about the Office Ladies podcast. But
yes. I'm behind on it, but
it's very good. So remember, Titans.
I was the one who told you. I was the one who told you about it.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate that. I figured Remember the Titans would be one of the first two. But Jared, saddest moment in a sports movie. What are your thoughts?
So I remember when I was in middle school, I went to go see The Blind Side.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes.
I went into it knowing absolutely nothing, and I came out in tears. I've never cried so hard in a movie theater. I think the scene that gets me the most is like when he walks into his like new bedroom, and she's I forget the woman's name.
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, Sandra Bullock. It's like, oh, this is yours now, and she's like, I've never had a bed before, and I'm like, oh, this is tough to watch. It really is.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God, I remember it too. I remember, and all the people. I loved at the end, and this is where just me being a football nerd is gonna kind of show a little bit of arrogance in terms of being a football nerd. At the end, it showed, and the Baltimore Ravens select Michael Orr, and everybody's like, "What? What?"
I remember that.
And I'm like, "Yeah, this was last year. Doing okay, not great."
Isn't he like he's not doing well right now? Didn't he just get cut? Doesn't he been cut from a couple of teams?
He hasn't played in like several
He
years.
retired.
Yeah, I think he's retired at this point. He played for
I think
Carolina.
He got cut a couple times.
Didn't he play for Seattle at one point?
He might have. I don't know.
Hang on,
He was on that Carolina team that made it.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
He played for the Titans and the Panthers, and the
What up?
Ravens. I'm on his wiki page right now.
All
He
right.
played from the Ravens from 2009 to 2013, the Titans for 2014, and the Panthers from 2015 to 2016. Hey, he won a Super Bowl.
There's a scene in that
Oh, they
movie.
lost.
No, they won.
No, they won. It was the Ravens versus the 49ers.
Oh, I'm thinking of the Panthers one. My bad.
Yeah.
There's also a terrible accident scene in that movie too when he's driving the kid.
Oh yeah.
And the truck backs out into the middle of the road. That's a hard scene to watch too.
And he saves the kid's life with one arm.
Yeah, no, that was a heartbreaker for sure.
Matt, to you, saddest moment in a sports movie.
Well, mine got taken.
Sorry.
So I'm going to talk about Blue Mountain State.
Oh.
The series ended in its third season. Basically, Blue Mountain State, they finally get their chance to go to the bowl. It's like some bowl. I don't remember which one it is.
Yeah, I don't either.
And they're playing against Blackwell. I remember that.
Yeah, it was a toilet bowl.
Basically. And they're going in. They're like super pumped. They're having a great season. They're killing it. And then the NCAA comes in and is like, all the starters can't play because of all these wild shenanigans that have happened in the last 3 seasons.
Which is the most NCAA thing.
Yeah, all 100%.
Ever here.
For sure. And then they all decide they learn they can't play. They get their butts handed to them, and then they always go on this depressive drinking bender. And if that doesn't make you just a little bit sad, I don't know what does. They do go on eventually to build their own football field in the middle of a wheat field, and
Yes.
they win. But at that time, it was pretty sad.
It's an inspiring tale.
He burned down the entire crop field because he wanted to get God high.
Yeah. What a great show.
Oh my god.
Fun fact, Alan Richardson. Is it Richardson or Richmond? I think it's
Richardson.
Alan Richardson, great Hawk.
Oh yeah.
Great Hawk on Titans, great job.
Hey, remember
He was also
great Aquaman.
Yeah, in Smallville.
There you go.
And then they recasted him for the Aquaman pilot with Justin Hartley, who played Oliver Queen in the Lost Aquaman pilot. If any of you saw that Lost pilot.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah. Sean, to you.
I thought this whole movie, the beginning of this movie, We Are Marshall.
Yeah.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah,
that was,
it's
based off of, like a lot of sports movies, it's based off a true story. And, the 1970s when the entire Marshall team got killed in a plane crash. Movie basically talks about their first season after and trying to rebuild. Matthew McConaughey's in it. I don't remember who else is in it, but I mean, the whole movie was good, but just the whole premise of it's kind of sad, obviously.
Yeah. And it is sad when you see those based on true stories, but it's also kind of inspiring when you see an inspiring movie that's based on a true story. Greenblatt, to you.
Field of Dreams.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to go with one specific moment. If you're a baseball fan, even if it's not, like, sad, I mean, it'll make you cry. Like, when he builds a field and when he has that catch with his dead father.
It can give you goosebumps.
Yeah, I cried like a goddamn baby because it was just.
It's because you are one.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a powerful moment. It's a very powerful moment.
That's agreed.
Great movie. If you're a baseball fan, which is hypocritical because if you know anything about baseball, there's no crying in baseball. Sadly, though, there's no crying in baseball. It's hard.
Unless you're an Astros fan.
God.
That's a League of Their Own reference if nobody understood it.
No, I got it.
We knew it.
Thank you, though.
Oh, yeah.
My saddest moment in a sports movie comes down to 2 from the same franchise. Don't laugh. Rocky 3, Rocky 4.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Rocky 3. I'm actually going with Rocky 4, but let me tell you the runner-up. Mickey dying in Rocky 3. Mick! Rocky 4. Throw the damn towel! Throw the damn towel! And Apollo Creed getting beaten to death by the Russian.
If he dies, he dies.
Rocky to go play in the snow and run through a mountain.
As you
and do some sit-ups from like a upside down position like this. I don't know. Not a great film. My personal favorite, just because I'm entertained.
Oh, I'd love to watch it. Yeah, no question about it.
Rocky 4 is like one of the best.
It's certainly one of the more known.
Yeah.
From I was having this conversation with my dad yesterday because we were talking about Logan. First of all, and how Greenblatt still hasn't seen Logan. We were talking about Logan and the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie versus like Avengers: Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp. One's like a good film, and one's just entertaining as F.
In action too, yeah.
Rocky 4 was very entertaining from a screenwriting perspective.
No.
Film perspective, no, not a great movie.
Didn't Rocky 4 also have the robot, or was that Rocky 5?
Yes.
Yeah,
it was 4.
Okay, I wasn't
The
sure.
best part of the
No,
movie.
Rocky 5 was awful.
Yeah. Saddest moment in a sports movie, Apollo Creed dying, especially because you really do get attached to him in Rocky 3. Mick, especially me coming from me being an amateur boxer, for those of you who don't know this about me, I've been doing boxing, I've been living boxing, teaching boxing, and breathing boxing since my freshman year in high school. I sucked at sports growing up, and my teammates always blame me for us losing. So I started a sport where if I get my ass kicked, it's my own fault. From a boxing perspective, I never loved Mick as a trainer. You have a lot of types of trainers. You have the type that I'm working with now, who's actually a professional fighter. He's 5-0 right now, James Perella, who's fucking nasty, who is very technical and very strict on technique. And then you have guys who just want you to hit really hard. I don't like Mick just because he's not loyal to Rocky. He only cares about working with Rocky when there's a paycheck in front of him, which is why I wasn't as attached to him, and why when Mickey died, I was kind of like, all right, well, storyline, I get it. Now this is a chip on his shoulder, and this has to make him work harder to beat up Mr. T. Apollo dying, on the other hand, we got really crazy attached to him in the movie before. Even in the first movie and the second movie, you liked him. He was the Muhammad Ali figure that, you know, that you got attached to him. You wanted to root against him, but you also kind of loved him. Answering a question from the chat right now, Greenblatt, Goose from Top Gun does not count just because there's a homoerotic volleyball scene.
I mean, it's a good example.
Yes, it is. All right. We're going to move on to our next topic of conversation.